Hello and welcome. We are live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Abhishek. Coming up in the next 32 minutes. Israel PM Netanyahu set stage for Rafah offensive as Gaza truce talks remain deadlocked. UN Security Council refers Palestine's full UN membership bid to committee. Indo-Pacific security concerns and an upgrade in defense ties in focus as Japanese PM Kishida arrives in the US. Will become the second Japanese leader to address a joint meeting of Congress on Thursday. Does government inaction on climate change violates the human rights? All eyes on European Court of Human Rights as it prepares to give rulings on 3 separate cases, verdicts to set a precedent for future litigation. An Indian benchmark indices Sensex and Nifty scale fresh all-time highs. Gold prices also extended record rally, reaching highs in both global and domestic markets. News in detail now. Israel has set a date for its forces to enter Rafah in southern Gaza. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Monday said he had received a detailed report on the talks in Cairo. He said Israel is working round the clock to achieve a complete victory over Hamas. Take a listen.
I received a detailed report on the talks in Cairo. We are constantly working to achieve our goals. First and foremost, the release of all our hostages and achieving a complete victory over Hamas. This victory requires entry into Rafah and the elimination of the terrorist battalions there. It will happen. There is a date.
And Hamas has rejected an Israeli ceasefire proposal made at talks in Cairo. Israeli and Hamas officials say no significant progress has been made in the latest round of Gaza truce talks in Cairo, attended by representatives from mediators Egypt, Qatar and the United States. A senior Hamas leader told a news agency that Hamas has rejected the latest Israeli proposals. Earlier on Monday, Egypt state media said that some progress had been made in the Cairo talks. Moving on to our next story now, the United States said it has not been briefed on a date for Israel's offensive of Rafah. State Department spokesperson Matthew Miller told reporters at a regular news briefing that Washington does not want to see a full-scale Rafah offensive. And the United Nations Security Council on Monday referred the Palestinian Authority's application to become a full member of the world body to the Committee on the Admission of New Members. The proposal for the referral, made by Ambassador Vanessa Frazier of Malta, Security Council President for April, received no objections from the body's 15 members. Palestine is a non-member observer state of the United Nations.
The Security Council will now begin its consideration of item 2 on the agenda. In a letter dated 2nd April 2024, addressed to the Secretary General, the permanent observer of the Observer State of Palestine referred to the application of the State of Palestine for membership in the United Nations contained in document S/2011/592. dated 23rd September 2011, and requested that renewed consideration be given to that application by the Security Council during the month of April 2024. That letter has been circulated in document S/2024/286.
And restating India's position on Gaza crisis, Indian ambassador to UN Ruchira Kamboj condemned the Israel attack on October 7. Addressing the United Nations General Assembly, she reaffirmed India's support for two-state solution.
India's position on the conflict has been clearly articulated on more than one occasion by our leadership. There are 4 key points here. 1. The ongoing conflict between Israel and Hamas has led to a large-scale loss of civilian lives, especially women and children. The resulting humanitarian crisis is simply unacceptable. 2. The terror attacks on Israel on 7 October were shocking, and they deserve our unequivocal condemnation. There can be no justification for terrorism and hostage-taking. India has a long-standing and uncompromising position against terrorism in all its forms and manifestations, and we demand the immediate and unconditional release of all hostages. 3. The humanitarian situation in Gaza is dire. It is imperative that humanitarian aid to the people of Gaza be scaled up immediately in order to avert a further deterioration in the situation. 4. My leadership has repeatedly emphasized that only a two-state solution, achieved through direct and meaningful negotiations between both sides on final status issues, will deliver an enduring peace.
And Japanese Prime Minister PM Kishida arrived in Washington on Monday, becoming the first Japanese leader to make a state visit to the United States in 9 years. During his visit, Kishida will hold a bilateral summit with US President Joe Biden. He will also address a joint meeting of Congress on Thursday. Kishida will be the second Japanese leader to address the joint meeting of Congress after his predecessor Shinzo Abe gave a speech in 2015. Kishida will also join the first ever summit of the US, Japanese and Philippine leaders in Washington. DD India's Laura Westbrook reports from Hong Kong.
Yes, the US says this is all about strengthening ties with Japan and showcasing Japan's global leadership role. The US and Japan are also expected to announce the biggest upgrade in their military alliance since 1960. The US is expected to restructure its military command in Japan. The US has some 50,000 troops in Japan. And being a state visit, there will also be a state dinner of around 200 guests. And that will also give a chance for Kishida to boost his popularity at home. As you mentioned, he will be addressing Congress, being the first leader to do so since 2015. And that really is going to be a chance for him to address both sides of the aisle ahead of a US presidential election in November. He's likely to talk about how Japan is a global partner of the US and that Japan is willing to take a bigger role in issues like defense, security, and space. And he's expected to also go to North Carolina, where he will be visiting some Japanese countries there and trying to drum up some investment. So a very busy trip. Well, as I said, it's the big focus is security and defense. They will be announcing that big upgrade to the security alliance since 1960, and that is all around looking at the growing, expanding influence of China in the Indo-Pacific region. And with the Philippines also joining this trilateral summit on Thursday, that also is showing that the focus of these countries is really trying to combat what they see as an expanding influence of China in the region.
Now, EU agriculture ministers are meeting on Tuesday to discuss capping agricultural imports from Ukraine. Amid pressure from farming groups, member countries have agreed to impose restrictions on imports which farmers said were flooding European markets and hurting their income. DD India's Ishan Garg has more from Brussels.
The informal meeting of European Union agriculture ministers is expected to focus on fine-tuning a deal that caps agricultural imports from Ukraine. Last month, EU ambassadors had decided to widen the basket of products classified as sensitive items. The revised list now includes poultry, eggs and sugar, among other items. The new safeguards mean these products will face additional tariffs if their import exceeds the average volume of the past 3 years. Now, agriculture ministers are likely to push towards a finished proposal that can then be sent off to the European Parliament for a final sign-off. There has been increased pressure on EU member states to clamp down on Ukrainian goods as farmers across the bloc have been protesting for months. Now, France and Poland particularly have pushed for tougher import restrictions. These could cost Ukraine 330 million euros. And it stands opposed to the bloc's promise of supporting Ukraine through its war with Russia. Reports say the EU Council, currently headed by Belgium, is moving its position closer to that of the European Parliament. The idea is to get the restrictions approved there before the parliamentary elections in June. Now, members of the European Parliament fear that if the farmers' concerns are not addressed, they could vote for far-right parties in 2 months' time. EU member states' representatives are expected to negotiate with the Parliament in the next few days. The Belgian presidency says it hopes the Parliament will act on them swiftly. If approved there, it will be a major win for European farming groups. Ishan Garg in Brussels, reporting for DD India.
Extreme weather has caused havoc in many countries around the world over the past several months, with record temperatures sparking wildfires, water shortages and a rise in heat-related issues. Now the governments will be feeling the heat on Tuesday as the European Court of Human Rights will rule an unprecedented verdict in 3 separate court cases on the climate change. Crucially, the verdicts could force them to adopt more ambitious climate policies. It will be the first time the court will issue a ruling on climate change. While several European states, including France, have already been condemned by domestic courts for not fulfilling commitments against global warming, the ECHR could go further and make clear new fundamental rights. The court heard all 3 cases in 2023, and all 3 cases are being decided by the court's top bench, the Grand Chamber, which only hear cases that raise serious questions about the interpretation of the 1953 Convention on Human Rights. And the past 10 months have seen monthly temperature records broken, with the most recent March on record being the warmest on record. The Climate Change Monitoring Service of the European Union reports that when compared to the equivalent month in prior years, each of the last 10 months has been the hottest on record worldwide. The 12 months ending with March also ranked as the planet's hottest ever recorded 12-month period. From April 2023 to March 2024, the global average temperature was 1.58 degrees Celsius above the average in 1850 to 1900 pre-industrial period. While C3S Deputy Director Samantha Burgess said that the long-term trend with exceptional records has them very concerned. Now, a rare total solar eclipse has carved a path across North America, traveling across Mexico, the US and into Canada. Some locations experience nearly 4.5 minutes of totality when the moon completely eclipses the sun, bringing a disquieting darkness to the day.
Most crucial moment, a brief breakthrough. The golden ring of the total solar eclipse visible in the sky. Austin was enveloped in darkness for nearly 2 minutes.
It's like turning the light on and off quickly. So, yeah, it still feels like I'm in a dream. Literally, like right now, did I just wake up from something? So it's wonderful.
I think it was just kind of a spiritual thing, you know, that it's not science, I know, but also it's, you know, the whole universe, everything. So I thought it was great.
This was really a once-in-a-lifetime experience for many of the people here, because the last time there was a total solar eclipse in Austin was over 600 years ago, and the next one is not expected for another 300.
The rarity of the event attracting solar enthusiasts from around the world, including this family from Chile. It's their 4th eclipse, but the experience still brings the mother to tears.
Yeah, she's very grateful to the universe and God about having the chance to witness this with my dad and me.
Some solar enthusiasts opted for a truly unique experience.
We're going to make a full left turn.
Tracking the path of totality 30,000 feet in the air.
So pretty!
One couple even getting engaged mid-flight. Their excitement still palpable back on Earth.
I could never come up with anything else as special to propose to her, and I wanted it to be a once-in-a-lifetime experience. So it just seemed like perfect to combine it.
There is a total solar eclipse somewhere on Earth about every 18 months, but rarely does it carve a path along a long, continuous stretch of land, giving scientists the opportunity to do research they wouldn't normally be able to do.
The total solar eclipse has historically been an incredible time for big leaps forward in astronomical research, not only studying the sun itself, but even there was a historic expedition to verify Einstein's theory of relativity soon after he predicted it using the total solar eclipse.
The eclipse is also a poignant reminder of our small place in the universe, literally standing in the shadow of the moon. A brief but wondrous experience. Tony Waterman in Austin, reporting for DD India.
All right, still to come on this edition of DD India Live. Election fever grips India with parties scrambling to secure victory. India's PM Modi hold rally and roadshows to woo the voters. Sumit Nagal creates history, first Indian male to win main draw match at Monte Carlo Masters. And festival season begins in India with Navratri, Gudi Padwa, Ugadi marking the beginning of Hindu New Year. Celebrations begin across India.
As India decides in the world's largest election,
we help you feel the pulse of the nation.
I am Sakal Bhatt.
I am Shubhendu Ghosh.
This election season, join us on a journey of India.
Discover the colors of democracy. Watch Poll Pulse on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Indian Embassy in New York on Tuesday declared that a 25-year-old student from Hyderabad has been found dead. The Indian Embassy in a social media post said that it is anguished to learn that Mr. Mohammed Abdul Arfat, for whom search operation was underway, was found dead in Cleveland, Ohio. Condoling the death of Arfat, the embassy said it is in touch with local agencies to ensure thorough investigation into Mohammed Abdul Arfat's death. The embassy also extended all possible assistance to the bereaved family to transport the mortal remains of Arfat to India. Arfat had moved to the US in 2023 for a master's at Cleveland State University. Now let's get to the latest on world's largest democratic elections in India. India's Home Minister Amit Shah will hold a public rally in Assam on Tuesday. India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh will visit Arunachal Pradesh's Namsai district to campaign for Bharatiya Janata Party. And senior citizens and specially abled people now have the option to cast their votes from the comfort of their homes for the Lok Sabha elections 2024. West Tripura District Election Officer Vishal Kumar announced that individuals aged 85 and above and specially abled people can cast their votes from their homes starting Tuesday using Vote from Home facility. The polling stations will be movable to their homes along with polling officers, presiding officers, representatives from all the candidates and security officers. He stated that the Election Commission of India has the motto that every vote matters. He added a list of these voters have been prepared and requisition forms have been received from them by March 25th. From 9th April onwards, their votes will be collected from their homes. A number of women candidates grew 16-fold from 1957 to 2019. Women made up only 9% of Lok Sabha candidates in 2019. However, the number of women candidates has never crossed 1,000 in Lok Sabha elections. Parties claim they look at winnability when it comes to choosing candidates, but women in the election fray is our focus in this report as they continue to shape Indian democracy.
As India, the world's largest democracy, gears up for the upcoming general elections, the spotlight shines on the powerful participation of Indian women in shaping the nation's political landscape. From the beginning of the Constitution, Indian women have been granted the right to vote, which is the cornerstone of democracy. However, the actual turnout of women voters has often been lower than that of men. Various factors, including socio-economic issues, may have led to this situation. But now the tide seems to be turning. The gender gap in voter turnout has significantly reduced in recent years, with 65.63% of women exercising their right to vote in the 2014 parliamentary elections, demonstrating the growing political involvement of Indian women. In 16 out of 29 states, more women turned out to vote than men, highlighting their substantial influence in shaping the nation's political landscape. In the 2019 Lok Sabha election, which was a historic moment in the country's post-independence era, 77 women were elected as members of Lok Sabha. Additionally, there are over 1.45 million or 46% women elected representatives in Panchayati Raj institutions, surpassing the mandatory representation of 33%. The 73rd and 74th Amendments 1992 to the Constitution of India have reserved one-third seats in the Panchayat and municipalities for women. India is presently one of the only 15 countries in the world with a woman head of state. Globally, India has the largest absolute number of elected women representatives in local governments. Also, for the first time, women voters outnumbered men in the southern Indian state of Tamil Nadu. Similarly, the participation of women in Indian politics is on the rise. On 19 September 2023, India's Prime Minister introduced the historic Nari Shakti Vandan Abhiniyam Women's Reservation Bill, which seeks to provide a 33% quota for women in Lok Sabha and state assemblies. It can only come into effect after a delimitation based on a census conducted after the bill has been passed, with the next delimitation scheduled for 2026. As India prepares for another historic election, the women of this diverse and vibrant nation are set to make their voices heard, once again proving that they are an integral part of the democratic fabric of India. Sujata Lochab, DD India.
And with polling just over 10 days away for the first phase of India's general elections, parties are in full campaign mode and intensifying their efforts to secure victory in the upcoming elections. Prime Minister Narendra Modi held a public meeting in North India's Pilibhit. Addressing the gathering, PM extended Navratri greetings.
आज नवरात्रि के पहले दिन, शक्ति की पूजा के पहले दिन, मैं देश को ये भी याद दिला रहा हूं कि कैसे इंडी गठबंधन ने शक्ति को खत्म करने की सौगंध खाई है। आज देश भर में जिस शक्ति की पूजा हो रही है, उस शक्ति का कांग्रेस ने घोर अपमान किया है। जिस शक्ति के आगे हम शीश झुकाते हैं, उस शक्ति को उखाड़ फेंकने की बात ये कांग्रेस के नेता कर रहे हैं। शक्ति का कोई भी उपासक इंडी गठबंधन को इस अपमान के लिए माफ नहीं करेगा।
And PM Modi will also hold public rallies in central India's Balaghat. He will also conduct a road show in South India's Chennai and address a public meeting in Vellore, Lok Sabha constituency. And the month of April brings along a long list of New Years celebrated by different communities across the country, including the Hindu New Year, which is also celebrated as Gudi Padwa in Maharashtra. The festival, also known as Ugadi or Chaitra Shukla Pratipad, marks the beginning of the Hindu New Year. This auspicious day falls on the first day of the Hindu lunisolar calendar. On big news, Indian stock market achieved another milestone on Tuesday. For the first time, Bombay Stock Exchange Sensex hit the 75,000 mark, Both the frontline indices traded at record high levels in the opening trade on April 9, with the Nifty 50 surging above 22,700 level. Meanwhile, gold prices have extended their record rally, reaching highs in both global and domestic markets. Spot gold soared to $2,344 per ounce earlier in the session, while US gold futures climbed to $2,361. In India, also the scenario was no different as gold prices skyrocketed to 71,000 rupees per 10 grams for the first time. All right, let's go across to DD India's Shama Mishra. She is joining us live from Mumbai to give us more information on this. Shama, for the first time, Bombay Stock Exchange Sensex hit the 75,000 mark. Nifty 50 also tops 22,700. Tell us, what are the factors?
Well, we are understanding that the markets are playing on the sentiments, and now as we proceed towards, as the elections are approaching and we proceed towards the polling days, the markets are getting, really geared up for all that. And on the factors of a stable government, on the factors of the reforms staying stable, these markets are actually, achieving a new high. We are also understanding that there are global mixed signals. Apart from that, retail participation, the number of demat accounts are on a record high. That is also there. So more number of investors coming in, new investors coming in. The retail investors, I've already told you, that is coming in. Apart from that, we are also understanding that a lot of companies are, corporate earnings are coming out. However, not all the companies are giving a very good positive profit account, but most of them are a bit above average. So that is also adding to the, the positiveness of the markets. More number of companies giving out this kind of positive performance, and that is why more number of people investing in these companies who are getting a positive, heightened
Shama, you're right in pointing out, and it is also likely to continue making new highs in the coming days. We'll leave it at that. Thank you, Shama. Thank you for getting us the latest from Mumbai. On to sports now. Sumit Nagal created history as he became the first ever Indian male to record a main draw win at Monte Carlo Masters. He defeated Italy's Matteo Arnoldi in the first round on Monday. The unseeded 95th ranked Nagal became only the third Indian ever to feature in the main draw in Monte Carlo Masters after Vijay Amritraj and Ramesh Krishnan. Alright, that's all for this edition of DD India Live, but do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X, formerly Twitter and Instagram. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Abhishek. From all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India Live.